Good morning, everyone. My computer decided to have an update, so I apologize. I'm a few minutes late. And today we're going to be talking about some super fun stuff. It's actually one of my very favorite conversations. So I have a lot of personal, good morning, Nestor. I had a feeling you were coming. Isn't that strange? Um, so I have a lot of personal experience in this conversation we're going to be having this morning. Because I have lived through codependency in my childhood. Hi. And then also, I have experience of this because I don't know if you know this, but I studied to get my master's in marriage and family therapy. And I always tease and say that I ended up getting married and having a family instead of graduating. But I did all the coursework for marriage and family therapy because I really like systems, and I think that we exist in a system. And there's a lot of theories actually about addicts and addiction and codependency. Hi, Lindsay. I'm so glad you guys are here with me this morning. So we're going to talk about the codependency addict struggle. And so sometimes we don't realize that we're addicts, or our partners are addicts, or that we're codependents, or that our partners are codependents. But here's some ways that you'll know. And this has been coming up. Good morning, Joseph. This has been coming up a lot for me lately in my practice with body-mind clients, because people who have, good morning, have pain, like especially I'm noticing people who carry like the neck and the shoulder and the back pain have a lot of codependency issues because they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, so to speak. It's like Atlas, you're holding everything up for everyone else. So I have some notes that I was just kind of messing around with last night, but my computer wants to do an update. That's you. You feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you get that pain in your neck and your shoulders. So this is a perfect place for you to be. And you may have even noticed my, what I wrote up here. Do you struggle in relationships? What a fun topic. Do you feel exhausted? So these are some really hot topics for codependence. So I'm a codependent. I was, my mom, good morning, Michelle. Thank you for being here. My mom drank a little too much when I was a kid, and she's doing really great with that now. I'm actually so proud of her. Actually, it makes me tear up a little. But my dad was like an uber codependent. And so I am so lucky because I learned from a female how to be intoxicated. And that's my way of being, even if I'm not drinking. And yes, I know about the flying thing, Nestor. We're not talking about that today. And then, and then from my dad, I learned how to be super codependent. And that's the dance that we do. So you have like the alcoholic. This pen represents the alcoholic or the addict. And then you have the codependent. My glasses are going to be the codependent. And they kind of like dance around the addict, right? So you end up like doing this dance. And so where do the kids end up? Like outside of this, So these two are just totally wrapped up in each other, and the kids just, whatever. Who cares about the kids? The relationship is a big problem. And so it ends up being kind of exhausting. So I've got a couple of different little things that I want to talk about here. So I mostly want to stay on the topic of being the codependent today. We can talk about being the addict another day, but it goes together. So this came up a bunch this week in my practice, and that's why I want to talk about it. So the codependent feels exhausted. So if you're feeling exhausted and you don't know that you're being codependent, there's a pretty good chance you're being codependent, because also codependency and addiction, both of them, there's a lot of denial around it. The codependent is really, really concerned with how it looks. Like, how does it look to the other people? Does it look like we have a super happy family? You kids better be happy, because we're happy because we don't have any of these problems in our house. And so just even starting there can be exhausting, because as soon as you're trying to create a happy environment, your spouse, your kids, like everybody else feels that, like your neediness, I'm going to call it, or your pressure or your control, any of those kind of words. So that's the codependent creates this like pressure for the rest of the family. to be the way the codependent needs it to be. And so a lot of us who are codependents became that way because we were raised in dysfunctional families. And when you're raised in a dysfunctional family, or you have any trauma in your childhood, good morning, Ingrid. Thank you for being here. If you have any trauma in your childhood, there's a pretty good chance you're going to end up feeling like you need to control your environment. And so for those of us who feel like we need to control our environment, that means we need to control other people's behavior, other people's thinking, belief systems, like all kinds of things. We need it to match up with ours because then we feel okay. Or in other words, we feel safe. Or we feel like it all looks okay, or it looks good now. So I'm going to be writing a blog post. You may be watching this on the blog post because it's going to end up on the blog post. And we're going to talk about the 4 things. So this is codependency for dummies. Okay. So number 1, you try to meet the other person's needs without asking them what their needs actually are. And so the codependent actually thinks, they really truly, like I truly believed this when I was doing this behavior. I truly believed that I was doing everything for you. And you end up being this like gigantic martyr and victim, because it's like, I make everything so amazing for you. Don't you realize how amazing you've got it? Good morning, Jason. Thank you for joining us. And so you're trying to make everything amazing for your partner. But what you don't realize is all of that trying to make it amazing for them is really just you trying to control yourself and trying to control your own environment. And so I'm trying to make you amazing, and I want you to like have all your shit together. I want you to have all your thoughts and behaviors together. I want you to have your life together, because if you have your shit together, then I'm okay. Is that making sense to anybody? Are you guys with me on this? Can I get some like yeses, thumbs up? Yes, I hear what you're saying. So the first one is, and so what I tell myself to keep myself in like this denial is that I'm trying to make you happy. Right? I'm like, oh, well, your life is a mess, and I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you by fixing it for you, which is like crazy, right? It's so controlling. But when you're doing it, you don't really know that what you're doing is control. You actually think that you're helping someone else, and so codependents very often find themselves on the victim triangle. You can either be a victim or a rescuer or a persecutor. And a lot of times the codependent is the rescuer. So as soon as you jump on that triangle, you're actually all 3. You're a victim, you're persecuting, and you're rescuing. But the codependent loves to jump on as a rescuer and say, I'm here to fix everything. I will save the day for you because you're a mess, right? So can you see how the codependent has like a lot of judgment about what the other person is doing? And so I'm taking my judgment, I'm throwing it all over you. I'm saying, oh, you're a big mess and I need to fix you. And really what it comes across as for the codependent is I'm perfect and I'm fine. And we are a family that looks good and you're causing a problem. So you need to clean up your mess. I don't like your mess. Make it better, because then I'll be okay. And then, but that's what's happening underneath. We don't really think those thoughts. What we really think is, oh, you poor thing. Let me help you. Let me make it all better for you. And so then we think that we're making it better for the other person when really we're being very, very controlling and probably making it miserable for them, because we're really just judging them and thinking everything that they're doing is wrong. And nobody likes that feeling. And so could you see how if you were in relationship with this person, you might want to have an addiction to escape, because you love the codependent and you want them to be happy and you realize that they're being crazy and controlling. But instead of directly confronting them and saying, you know what, you're being really controlling, a lot of people don't have the ability to use language like that. So instead they just drink or gamble or whatever it is that they need to do in order to avoid, directly confronting that the codependent is being so controlling. And it's also very, very hard for like the addict personality to tell the codependent you're being controlling, because it really just looks like the codependent is being really nice and loving. And there's a huge payoff for the addict, because the addict can literally just sit there and be like, I don't know. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know. I don't know. And when you put a codependent in a relationship with somebody like that, who's just like, oh, oh, that's like juicy for a codependent. The codependent's like, yes, you're a mess. I can fix you. Okay, so what's actually going on underlying for both parties is a huge lack of self-love and self-care. Excuse me. Which is why I called my business Beautifully Authentic, because when you love yourself and you care for yourself, then you're being beautifully authentic. You can authentically express yourself in your relationship. You can say things like, babe, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly fine. You're being super controlling. Cut it out. I don't need you to fix me. There's nothing here to fix. I've got it. Or the codependent, when the codependent fills themselves up. Good morning, Alexis. Oh, and Louisa and Lynn, thank you for joining us if you're still here. Whoa, I lost my thought. Oh, shoot, I hate when that happens. Do you guys ever have that happen? You're like, anybody else like a public speaker and you get on stage and you're like in it and you're like something good and then something distracts you and then you're like, right? And you get this like deer in the headlights. I really have no idea what I was talking about. So we'll go back. So I think I was talking about the denial piece. And so, oh, when you start to love yourself, right? Okay, so when you start to love yourself and you start practicing self-care and you're the codependent, what ends up happening is how the codependent is filled up. Exactly. So you start to love yourself, then you realize, wow, I'm being so controlling of this other person. Like, oh my gosh, I'm looking at all of their needs and everything that they need. I feel so depleted. Why am I, oh my God, I'm so depleted. And you start realizing, and a lot of people realize this on my table. I can't tell you how many people realize this when they come and visit me. I'm like, man, are you taking care of yourself? And it's like, oh God, I don't feel grounded. I don't feel stable. I'm not taking care of myself. I am a total clusterfuck. But like, I put all of that on my partner. You know, it's way easier to be like, wow, you are a big mess. But you know, they say when you point your finger at somebody else, you got like 3 fingers pointing back at you, right? So whatever you're projecting onto your partner, probably more than likely, you're doing it times 3. So if I see my partners being a big, gigantic mess in whatever arena, the financial arena or the friends arena or the family arena, there's a pretty good chance that I'm actually the big, gigantic mess in the financial arena or the business arena or the friends arena or whatever it is. And I'm not taking care of myself. And so that's why as a codependent, we feel super exhausted because we do not take care of ourselves first. We're always trying to take care of the other person first. And when I'm taking care of you first and I'm not taking care of me first, I feel depleted, I feel exhausted, and then the worst part, I feel resentment towards you. You're an asshole because you didn't see all the wonderful, amazing, fantastic, and great things I did to try to control you. Right? It's kind of funny when you think about it like that. It's crazy making, you know? And so it makes sense that somebody would want to drink because it's hard to live with that kind of crazy. Like, I know I am that. I have been. I sometimes still am that kind of crazy. So number one, you try to meet the other person's needs without asking them what they need because you're like, you know what? I know what you need. Listen, I got it. You're a mess. I'm going to handle it for you. And then you do what you need. You know, that's what you need in order to feel okay is by fixing them. Then you get mad. Like then like I'm entitled. And I'm allowed to get mad at you because A, you didn't fix your shit and I told you how to fix it. And B, like you're still making me really miserable. Could you just, if you could just handle your stuff, if you could just let me take care of you, we would both be fine because then my needs would be met and you would be perfect because I know what's best for you. Okay, can you guys see the crazy thinking here? Like, no offense if you're doing it, you're not crazy. It's crazy thinking. Like it really doesn't work, right? Are you guys seeing how this really, really doesn't work for those of you who are still with me? So then I say that you take responsibility when they are upset. What did I mean by that? Oh, I know what that means. Right. So then every time your addict or whatever gets upset, then you're like, oh, I'll handle it for you. I'll be the responsible one. Oh, you know what? I made your life miserable. You just become this gigantic victim, and everything is your fault. And then I want you to rescue me, right? So it's like, then I need you to take care of me because I'm exhausted and I screwed this whole thing up and I'm responsible for absolutely. Can you see why you might end up having some pain in your neck and your shoulders by doing this? Does that all make sense to you guys? So I think I have said all of the wonderful things. Yeah. And you know what the thing is, like, both parties are in denial. Both parties are in denial. Like the person who's drinking and partying and gambling and watching porn or whatever it is that, you know, we have all these addictions that we do to escape reality. That person doesn't realize that they're trying to escape reality. Like a lot of times they're in a lot of denial. And then when you come out of denial, that's when you're like, oh shit, I need a meeting. And then the codependent doesn't have a clue because the codependent is perfect. I mean, we were talking like, these are perfect people and they want everything to look perfect and they want you to look perfect. And if you don't look perfect, they're going to shame you. Oh, that's a whole part I missed. So the codependent needs things to be perfect. And if they're not perfect, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do like, remember the finger pointing, like you're a mess, you're not okay. So as soon as I call you a mess, that's shaming. And we actually live in a culture of shaming. And so a lot of people don't even know what shame is because we're like literally infiltrated in it. It's like fish don't know that they're swimming in water kind of thing. And what Brene Brown says when she talks about shame is there's two things that happen when you say the word shame. Either one, people are like, I don't want to talk about that. Or two, they're like, I don't know what that is. Because it's one of those human emotions. It's like, you don't want to feel it so badly that it's like, it immediately puts us into denial. So you could see why if someone's being shamed continuously, that they would turn to drugs or alcohol or gambling or sex or whatever to avoid the feeling of shame. The problem is then when the addict goes and does the addiction, they actually feel more shame because now they're more of a mess. And then of course the codependent has to point that out because that's what codependents do. And can you see how this is a cycle? Like this guy's thing makes this guy's thing go and like it just keeps going and going. So it's not very much fun to be in. So if you're feeling exhausted in your relationship, there's a pretty good chance. How many of you guys related to this? Is anybody relating to this? Like, I know I was living it. And when I was living it, I did not know that I was in it. And then something big happened. We'll just put it like that. Something big happened. It was like a huge wake-up call for me. And I was like, oh my God, how come he doesn't love me? I thought I was perfect. I literally thought those words. I literally, as a codependent, I literally thought I was perfect. How could you not love me? I am perfect. And then as I did more and more and more work, I discovered I actually felt very, very unlovable, which is why I had to have everything be so perfect all of the time. And when you're living in that, oh God, it's exhausting because A, you're trying to be perfect all the time, and B, you're trying to get love all the time, and three, or C, whatever, you're trying to make somebody else be something you need, and that's like exhausting. Have you ever tried to get somebody to do what you want them to do? Have you ever tried to do that? like, can you get your kids to pick their socks up? Like, that's what I think about. Like, human beings are like, do not tell me what to do. And I don't care if they're 2 years old or 50 years old. Human beings are like, do not tell me what to do. Messy human beings, the ones who sit there like, I'm so confused. I don't know. Even those ones don't want to be told what to do. But the codependent just loves those guys because they're like, let me tell you what to do. Oh, I can see that you're struggling. You can do this and you can do this and you can do and tell them all kinds of wonderful things to do. And then when they don't do those things, the codependent gets mad. Okay, so I feel like I've said this. Yes, hell yes. We got a bunch of yeses over here. Good. So what do you do if this is happening? There's all kinds of things you can do. If you have pain in your neck and shoulders, you can come get a massage from me. That's pretty, we can keep it just as a massage. We don't have to talk about all your codependency issues. Or you could actually do some healing and you could come get a massage and we could talk about all your codependency issues and we could actually get some of this stuff resolved. You could go to a meeting. You could go to AA meeting. You could go to a Codependency Anonymous meeting. You could go to a Al-Anon meeting if you're in relationship with somebody who's drinking. You could go to ACA. That's my favorite meeting. It's Adult Children of Alcoholics, so they're actually dealing with inner child stuff. I do hypnosis on inner child work. So if you want to like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and get it taken care of in a couple of sessions, we can do that with hypnosis. It is like mind-blowing how quick that works. Let's see, what else could you do? I mean, there's lots of cool stuff you could read, but I read a lot of cool stuff and it actually didn't help until I got in a relationship with a coach, because you can stay in denial. You know what I mean? You can read a lot of cool self-help stuff, but you end up staying in denial when you do that because you're like, oh my God, as a codependent, I did this, right? You're like, read your self-help book and you're like, oh my God, my husband is just, oh my God, my husband needs this. He needs this and he needs like literally I read all those books and all I could think about was how my husband needed to read the book. I couldn't even take it in for myself. So that's another reason why it's good to like have somebody else do this with you. And if you want to do it with me, I'm happy to do it with you. But if it's not me, like seriously, I don't care. I just want peace on the planet. I want you to figure out how to resolve this for yourself so that you do not feel exhausted all the time, and so that your family doesn't feel exhausted all the time, and that you're not a basket case and you're not trying to make other people be something that they're not. We want to be beautifully authentic, and we want others to be beautifully authentic. And when we're codependents, it's very hard to learn both of those things. Like A, how do I take care of myself? And B, how the hell do I let you off the hook? How do I leave you alone and let you do your life? So if you're struggling with any of that, this is like my specialty. I love this topic. It's one of my very, very favorites because I lived it for so long and I actually don't do it anymore. And that was challenging, really, really challenging to learn how to not do it, but you can learn to not do it. So, you know, if it is you and you would like to learn, reach out to me. I'm happy to support you in figuring out like what's the best path for you. All right, so I hope this was helpful for you guys. I do have YouTube channels. I have the Heather Hundhausen YouTube channel. I have the Beautifully Authentic YouTube channel. I have the Beautifully Authentic Facebook group, which I would like to invite all of you to be part of with me. If you like this stuff, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and get more stuff. And on my website, there's a loving yourself quotes so that you can actually fill yourself up with daily emails. They last about, I don't know, I think we got 3 or 4 months in there. So you get like daily, just like a little quote to fill yourself up with love. Because I'm doing my best to create peace on the planet, and I'd like to do more, but you can only do what you can do in the time that you've got. So as one of my clients said to me this week, God, you do so much. How do you have time to make money? And I was like, well, I guess it's just part of the juggling act, you know? So it would be cool if we could just create world peace and not have to make a living. But luckily, I really enjoy making a living the way that I do it. So that's a big, huge plus, right? So I hope you guys enjoy the beautiful, beautiful day. Enjoy your families, enjoy your loved ones. Let's see if we can let go of control. Let's see if we can fill ourselves up with self-care and self-love. And I will talk to you guys next week. Mondays at 10 is the time. All right, bye guys.